good morning, and great morning, guys. Welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategies Radio Show. Hey, I am your host, Corwyn J, Melette, broker and owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, if this is your first time listening to this show, you, sir or ma'am, are in for a treat. That is because our mission here is very simple. It is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education, guys. We are legacy building. That is what we do right here on this show. I want to give a quick shout out to those who listen to us faithfully, all the way from Hollywood, what you know, no good, through Monkey's Corner. And y'all know my mama live out there, y'all, all the way up to Muddy Mullins, the Eminem, Mullins, and Marion. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. And most importantly, you know that we love you. Guys, we've had some amazing guests here on this show over our time, and I am so stoked because it seems like we keep raising the bar. It seems like we go higher and higher. That's what we do. So, guys, look, today I'm gonna paint a picture here real quick, real quick. So today we have with us a financial strategist. So, guys, look, I know it might not quite be football season, if that makes any sense, but we always may have that in mind. And what I envision is that person that's on the sideline, that coach that is drawing the play. So, what we have, and the ball is money. That's what it is, money. So, we got the coach on the sideline with the play being written out on how to get your money to the goal line, whatever your goal is. So we have none other than David Flores Wilson. Now, David, again, is a financial strategist. He is a firm owner, and he is going to talk with us today about how we can get our money down the field to the goal. So, David, welcome to the Exit Strategies Radio Show. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Corwin. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you for all the work you do in the financial literacy space. It's sorely needed in the community for sure.
I greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. So look, David, so I gave my impression of what I envisioned. So I tried to paint this picture of the financial strategist. But tell me, how far am I off the mark? Tell our listeners who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. So I have a financial planning firm here in New York City, and we work with primarily a client base of business owners and entrepreneurs. And we're, as you said, right, we're trying to give them strategies and techniques so that they can make progress on their financial plan, so that they can move and grow their businesses, find a successful exit, live a comfortable retirement, manage all that's going on in their lives as they're struggling with pulled in a lot of directions with the business and their families and what they want to accomplish. So yeah, we're trying to be helpful from formation to exit, and whether it's on the investment side, a tax side, estate planning, real estate, just giving advice on the full balance sheet so that people can essentially advance the plot of their financial life or move the ball forward, right, and on the football field. So
I love it. I love it. So financial planning, right? As transparent as I am, can be, if you will. We oftentimes we think that to have a financial planner, you got to have a bunch of money, right? I believe that's a mistake. I believe that's that misinformation that's out there. And we oftentimes fail or hinder ourselves because we are thinking incorrectly. So a financial planner is useful, I'll say, to who and at what level. I mean, I know people that obviously have means and have one, but I also know people that are just starting their first job out of school and they're connecting to a financial planner, going into the military, connecting with a financial planner. So tell me, David, when should someone consider being with a strategist such as yourself?
well, I would take a step back, right, in terms of that financial literacy is something that everyone should build that skill set. And so when we think about the levers of financial literacy, it's okay, it's saving, it's investing, it's protecting what you have, it's managing debt correctly, and then of course it's minimizing taxes. And so if people can, either learn those skills in those areas or build a team, or better yet, learn those skills and build the team, then they can make a lot of progress, right? I think there's a lot of research out there that shows there's a connection between planning behaviors and net worth. And so just trying to look at those different categories. And I think a lot of people maybe might be doing one or two, but if doing three or four of those, amazing. And if it takes hiring someone that can help you understand those concepts and learn from that advisor or planner, That's one great way to do it. Or some people have the interest in it themselves and can take that approach as well.
So, having a strategy, again, moving the ball down the field. And there's some people that when they decide, okay, well, look, the ball is kicked off, this life starts, or professional or adult life starts, and the ball is kicked, right? And kid is coming out of college, or kid is coming out of whatever. Maybe it's college, maybe they came out of high school, went straight into the workforce, maybe they went to the military, essentially wherever you're receiving that ball from. And David, I've never said this, listeners, I've never said this before in my life. So this is all just that thought process for an analogy, but you're receiving the ball wherever you're receiving. So let's say you're starting from high school or what have you, you catch the ball, you caught that ball at right at the 1 yard line, and you're trying to get it down the field, so to speak. You're trying to build, accumulate wealth to get to that place where you can be able to retire. So you got essentially 99 yards to move that ball. Now, there's others that catch that ball at the 5, 10, maybe 20 yard line, or
Yep.
what have you, depending upon how they leverage themselves. But there are pillars from my notes that you talk about, pillars of wealth. So, depending upon where someone is, what does that look like overall, the big picture, the pillars that help people, those basics that help people to build their wealth?
Yeah, I think that those are the channels, right? Those channels are like where you focus on in terms of just, okay, well, saving, investing, protecting what you have. And it's a very good point, right? Like some people are born on first base or second base, right? And so you want to leverage the opportunities that you have. And oftentimes when people are surrounded by other people, that had success growing their net worth, whether it's in real estate or business or in their careers, then you just are just more exposed to it. I think that, but if you don't have those opportunities, well, then really investing in yourself and really understanding, okay, what skills can I build up and leverage those skills to the point where I can build my wealth, right? And I think that because there's some things, that no matter what the net worth is or who your parents are, you can do things to build your net worth. And it's your spending habits, frugality, how we think about planning. And then as well, this sounds like a very touchy feely thing, but it's the confidence that people have. Right? There's all sorts of studies that show that link the confidence that you have in your financial abilities, it's linked to higher net worth growth. And so if you can build those skills, whether it's reading or listen to podcasts like this, and get that confidence as you invest in yourself, then you can find what is the best sort of channel to build your wealth. And for some people, that's the stock market. For some people, that's real estate. Other people, entrepreneurship is the goal. And I think the sooner people can figure out what kind of person they are, right? Because entrepreneurship's not for everyone. I was over 40 years old before I became a true entrepreneur. And my biggest regret is that I didn't do that sooner. And so as you think about entrepreneurship, where you're not just exchanging time for money, you're leveraging, right? Like you're leveraging hiring people or technology or capital. And you can build something that has value by using those different factors. And frankly, if it's a passion that you love so much, well, then like you're not going to have a traditional retirement. You can work even longer because you love it so much, or phase it down in terms of the hours and enjoy your time. So I think that the sooner people sort of investigate and really invest in their skills to see where they're going to be good at and where they should be investing, and the higher their chances of success are when it comes to net worth growth.
So what you said in there, David, that I heard, and something we talk about, on this show as well, is that whole concept of figuring out where you get heart palpitations at, basically, in
Mhm.
what level or in what arena. Was there some people that, "Oh, okay, well, look, I'm gonna stick some money in the stock market and just let it go." There's some people that stick money in the stock market and they're watching it every 2 seconds. And currently, if you're doing that and you're managing not to faint most days, you're probably doing very well. So, to say the least. But then there's others that again want to be more active or otherwise and feel they're in a different in control and more control. So a question, and some of this may be just opinion, it could be based or rooted in the fact you're the person I'm going to rely on to tell that. But stocks versus real estate, where should people invest? What's the
Sure.
pro cons in order to get that ball moved down the field?
For many people, it isn't sort of an either or. They can be complementary in terms of you build up a liquid, diversified portfolio that allows you the opportunity to still earn a return until something very attractive on the real estate comes in. And we should be very clear about sort of the differences, right? And I think people should understand, are they right for real estate? For example, what is their comparative advantage in real estate? Some people are just really good at finding that area, that neighborhood that has surging demographics. There's a gentleman I used to work with, and his core competency outside of his job was like people that know New York City. He bought in the meat packing in sort of the early 2000s, and he switched to North Brooklyn, where he bought another place, and then he bought somewhere in Silver Lake in California. And so that person has a core competency of understanding what neighborhood's going to be surging. But other people have other competencies. They could have a network of professionals and or family members where they can renovate properties at a lower cost than I would, or they may have an architecture background. And so they understand design and how to build things and can maybe even do that a little bit cheaper or faster than other people. Other people might have access to capital. And so just understanding what your comparative advantage is and saying, making adjustments, saying, okay, let's be very disciplined about our real estate projects. Okay, well, if we're going to put X amount in, let's build a projection model. What's our internal rate of return based on our assumptions? Internal rate of return of 20%? Great. Yeah, that will probably beat the markets in terms of stocks and bonds over long periods of time. But if you're doing the numbers and based on the debt and the rent you're going to collect, so that number is more like an internal rate of return of 7 or 8. Well, maybe that doesn't compensate you for how illiquid real estate is, or the fact that you can't really diversify with real estate. Maybe that project isn't the one. So perhaps keep living. But I also want to say that so many people are unaware of the incredible tax advantages of real estate. When you buy real estate, you manage real estate and sell real estate, there's all sorts of different tax advantages, whether it's selling through a 1031 exchange where you can avoid a capital gain, or you can do cost segregation
Mhm.
studies when you manage it to get accelerated depreciation and all sorts of things. So just really being a student of the game, if that's the route that you're going to choose to really maximize those tax advantages. Because we do see sometimes when people, they might be investing passively in real estate and they're building up these losses, and yet they might not have the passive income to net that against. And so you're just working with your accountant, really understanding the pros and cons, and then optimizing for the balance sheet overall, I think is what we generally recommend. And everyone's situation is a little bit different though. So
So again, and it's all six one half dozen others, so to speak. It's all where's your temperature? What is your ultimate goal as to what's the best vehicle and the best method for you to get there? Let's talk about what that initial process normally looks like, David. What I mean by that is someone calls, said, hey, look, I'm tired of being where I am. I want to get the ball down the field. I feel like I'm on fourth down and 10. So I'm oh sorry. That tickled me. I'm sorry. So I feel like I'm on fourth down and 10. Look, I got to get a first down. What do I need to do? What does that look like for you with them coming to you and saying, okay, look, this is how we need this is what I want to accomplish. I need to get to a first down. What's the initial steps for you to start to explore strategy to get them there?
well, I do think before we think about the financial activities, right, in terms of where we're investing, how we're saving, what we're doing in taxes, really having a deep dive, doing discovery on that person's situation is so important. And so, and it's not just, okay, well, how much assets do they have? What's their income? What's the debt look like? But also, what's important to them? What are their goals? And in separate from their goals, okay, what are their values? And so I think the optimal thing is to have those values aligned with the goals, aligned with what they're doing financially. And that being said, like people's goals and values, they change over time. And so we met someone who built an amazing real estate portfolio, but real estate wasn't for them in their retirement age. So they have this sort of interaction of saying, hey, okay, well, we can diversify away from real estate, pay some taxes. We can use a management company where potentially their returns are a little bit less, or they could slog away in their sort of 60s and 70s doing things they didn't want to do. But other people really enjoy it, right? Other people really enjoy managing real estate, but they just had fallen out of love with it. So I think just understanding like what is going to make them happy and then aligning all these sort of financial behaviors so that they can do that.
So a lot of people, when they build wealth, then sometimes just transparent. Not everything is done for everyone to see, and oftentimes there is a false narrative that those who have means and have wealth don't give, don't have philanthropic efforts. They don't give to charities or otherwise fund whatever. There's literally this misconception, if you will. Is that a part of the conversation, or either from your perspective, or do you hear it often when you're meeting and talking with people that either are at a place where they will be considered to be by our standards of means and of wealth, or someone who is aspiring to that, do they incorporate, if you will, giving into that?
Yeah. I think that most of the clients that we work with, they're interested in impact in some way, right?
Mm,
And I think it often has to do with the stage of life. And so sometimes we might see a younger person that might just be volunteering at to get active in the community and to meet some friends in their 20s. And then they have some kids. And then oftentimes their sort of budget around impact and charity goes to, frankly, maybe to their kids' schools. And then as they build wealth, what we highly encourage people to do is to really think through and to go from reactive giving to proactive giving. So let's say, hey, we're going to have a budget. We pay our taxes, we save money, we reinvest some things back into the business, but let's also have this budget and it's sort of incorporated into the projections and say, hey, okay, well, yeah, if you give X amount, you can still have financial freedom and
mm,
such and such age. And so let's go through a systematic process and say, what's really important to you in terms of your values? What causes do you care about? And then how do we think about the right way to identify charities that fit with those causes? And then eventually, how do we monitor to make sure that our impact is what we expected it to be? And I think there's, for example, different charity rating systems that they sort of rate charities based on how much they spend on overhead, which I think is can be a little perverse in terms of just how you value. Imagine rating a business where they're like, oh, you spent nothing on operations. So it's a great business. That's literally how some of the rating systems. So I think just peeling back the layers and being intentional with something that's just really, whether it's the environments to religious organizations, like what's really going to make you happy and what's going to reflect your values. And I think that's the way that over time, more and more people are doing it that way rather than just saying, but that being said, right, like disasters happen and there could be just things that come up in the community. There's also a budget for that, as you might have contacts or friends that are on nonprofit boards and they are interested in sort of you getting involved. And so, yeah, let's incorporate all that in the giving plan. And so, yeah, that philanthropy is super important to be strategic about. At least what we encourage people to do. So,
well, you said it in there, impact investing. I made me turn and look. I have it up on the board over here, a term I wrote down several months ago. Well, I say in response to, but when I picked it up from for another interview and we're just digging into that and talking about that. And again, the average consumer, going back to what I was saying, David, is that they don't know, which they don't need to know. I mean, giving is private, in my opinion.
yeah.
You don't need to be public in your giving. If you do, fine, but you don't have to be. Really, probably, I don't know. Word tells us we shouldn't, but that's another story. But short version is there is giving, and you guys incorporate that into that conversation.
Yeah. Corwyn, to speak to that a little bit, right, in terms of the giving is so personal. And
Mhm,
so oftentimes people are giving anonymously, but
mhm,
other times when they give publicly and they sort of rally other people in their community to a cause that they really care about, they can amplify their impact. And
mhm.
so, yeah, sometimes people do look at some people with a skeptical eye that their sort of name is on the donation, but at the same time, sometimes that does inspire other people so that there's more impact, right? And I think that both situations can work out. Has been my experience.
Well, six one, half dozen others, so to speak. So, but you carry a certification, certified exit planning. I had to laugh at the exit part.
Yeah.
Advisor. So, if you don't mind, tell our listeners, what does that mean? Explain that, and how does that fit into the strategies that we're talking about?
Yeah, it's particularly focused on business owners and entrepreneurs. And I think that as many people know that there's something like 75 to 80% of all businesses in the US are owned by baby boomers. And so often they don't have a plan in terms of just what is the exit in their business going to look like. And so I felt that it behooves me to kind of to understand some of these concepts as I work with business owners anywhere from, from 30s to 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And because exit planning to me is just good business, because the core of exit planning is to make the business more valuable, to get the business owner financially ready, as well the business owner to become personally ready, right? And so, and we kind of look at it as sort of three different lenses. And rather than just saying, hey, the business planning, exit planning is a transaction, it's more of a process and really an exploration of which is the optimal exit plan for the business owner based on what they care about and their goals and their values and the stakeholders. For some people, they want their business to have a legacy. And so they want their name to stay on the door and have the business continue forever. So maybe a management buyout, a stock ownership program or ESOP might be the answer, where some people just want the most amount of tax after tax proceeds and sell the business. So they might sell to a strategic investor or maybe even a private equity roll up. And so just having that framework, because exit planning can seem so daunting for business owners. And so many of them just don't start. And so we can do it in a very discreet way, a little bit by at a time. We can increase the chances of better outcomes, because I think there's a stat out there by the Exit Planning Institute that shows that basically 75% of all business owners, when they sell their business, within 12 months, they regret it. And they regret it for a lot of different reasons, right? And so they're not personally ready. Some of them are not financially ready. And some of them, just miss the life in terms of, because it's exhilarating to be a business owner oftentimes, right?
Mhm.
Experience the highs and lows. And so, yeah, we work with business owners to make sure that they have better outcomes when it comes to exiting their businesses.
So, David, we have gotten real close to the end of today's show. Let me take this as an opportunity now to make sure that I get your information out, that we get your information out. So, if you don't mind, where can people connect with you? Where can they find David Flores Wilson?
Yeah, sure, Corwyn. I mean, if they just Google David Flores Wilson, their sort of favorite channel will come up, whether they reach out to us and book a time on the website or reach out to us on LinkedIn. Happy to chat with people about personal financial planning and move the ball forward right on the field.
I love that. I think you're gonna do something with that now. Yeah, let's get yeah.
I'll be sure to cite you. I'll be sure to cite you.
I'm the coach on the sideline. Okay, we go. This is the play we're gonna run right now. The strategy we're gonna employ. We're gonna get this ball down the field. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. David, one other thing. Remind us, how long have you been in this arena, in this field?
Oh gosh, I've been in financial services for 25 years. I had an investment banking career and then a few years in investment research. Been exclusively doing financial planning for families and business owners, I guess, since 2011, and stood up this company about 5 years ago with a business partner. So we, can focus on doing it the best way that we think we can. So
Awesomeness, awesomeness. So, David, I want to thank you for your time today, for coming on and dropping, if you will, these jewels, these nuggets to our listeners. And it's always refreshing. We like to talk about everything surrounding wealth and legacy, how to incorporate and put things together. And we do it. Sometimes we're really focused on just some basics. Sometimes we're a little bit more advanced. And sometimes we're way down the road, sometimes bumping up against, if you will, an outer bound, so to speak. But at the end of the day, it is all meant for the betterment of our listeners. We are intent on giving them as many resources, as many connections, as many tips, tools as possible for them to be able to build the life financially, that the best financial life they can for their families. So I appreciate you being a part of this mission, a part of this ministry here on the Exit Strategies Radio Show. I really appreciate it.
thank you. It's wonderful to chat with you.
So for our listeners, guys, look, y'all got some great information. Y'all know this has been or is now something that's a little bit that I've repeated several times, which is information without action is entertainment. While we have a good time here on this show, while we like to have fun, this is not merely for your entertainment. It is for your advancement. It's for your empowerment. So guys, take this information today, go do something for it. And most importantly, go love on somebody with it. That includes your family, but it's not limited to that. We're all his people. Look here, for our listeners, for that final time, y'all know how I feel. Y'all know what I say. I always put the two of those things together, and I give it to you this way, which is to tell you that I love you, and we're gonna see you guys out there.